The Red Gobbo came! The Red Gobbo came! Wah! Wow! Welcome back to the Red Ones Go Fast, the old Big Mek here. And yes, the Red Gobbo really did come. It's Squigmas in Orktober! Alright, so for those of you that have absolutely no idea what I'm on about, today, Thursday, October the 16th, which you're going to be seeing tomorrow, the 17th, Warhammer announced the balance data slate update for Warhammer 40,000. Now, this is kind of a thing they've been doing for a few years, but it's picked up steam, and they're trying to do it kind of like every quarter and just kind of make sure the game is in a good state. Basically, more or less, around the end of 9th edition, things got really overpowered, and people didn't really like playing the game because the armies were too wild and swingy and, first turn tablings, that kind of thing. And so they really wanted to damp that down on 10th edition, and so they look at the meta, and they make adjustments. And they make adjustments in multiple ways. And then they put all these rules out for free. Now, first things first. I appreciate that they put the rules out for free. I appreciate the Games Workshop actually tries to balance things out. That being said, there's going to be a lot of criticisms, and we'll get into the nuance of those criticisms throughout the video. But yeah, welcome to Orktober, everybody. Let's get into it. Alright, so when you get onto the Warhammer community website, this is what you are faced with, which is the Warhammer 40,000 balance data slate. Changes are here with the new Munitorium Field Manual. So really what you've got here is not just one thing. You've got a field manual, you've got FAQ, you've got errata, and you've got the actual mission pack. And that's going to be one of the things that we complain about. So anyways, this is the article. It talks about the changes and what's happening. This part is new and is nice. They're talking about what they are looking at in the future, which is the next time they do one of these, they're going to be looking at Miracle Dice usage and Cult Ambush mechanics, as well as Codex Space Marine. And that is actually pretty nice that they tell you what they are already aware of. Now, all that being said, you click the View Downloads button and pop it up. Here it comes. And this has been really interesting. These downloads, they used to be so much better on the old website. When they migrated to the new website, they changed all of the dates on them to be the new website. Now that we're getting updates, it's not as bad because things are truly up on that day, but there are quite a few things still that show 9/17 of 24, and that is not when the core rules were updated, or the quick start guide, or the balanced data slate. So yeah, anyways, but notice everything in yellow is brand new. So all of these got updated just today. So in your core rules, you've got the field manual has updated. That's your points. Your Pariah Nexus Tournament Companion, that explains the current mission packs. The core rule updates and rules commentary. This is basically everything else you need to do to make the core rules actually work. Notice that this file is bigger than this file. The core rules are so whack that the updates and commentary is actually longer than the rules themselves. Good to know, right? Anyways, moving along, then you get into indexes. So these are the armies that don't yet have a codex. They're still on an index. And again, all the ones that are yellow are new. Interesting for you foil rack heads on what's coming up next. Emperor's Children, Grey Knights, and Blood Angels did not get an update, meaning those codexes, well, we know Codex Blood Angels is out, but yeah, that means Grey Knights and Emperor's Children are still coming up. Then you've got Combat Patrol, and they didn't update much on those. There was just one, the new Blood Angels one. And then you get into other rules. They have a Boarding Actions Companion, so it's nice that they did that. Then Imperial Armor, they updated a couple of the Imperial Armor rules. And then you get into Legends. Now this is interesting, because Legends, they don't normally update at all. And you'll notice they updated Legends Blood Angels, which I guess that's to be expected, because some characters did move to Legends. They updated the Legends Field Manual. They updated Legends Orks. We'll have to come back to that one. That's quite interesting that Orks got updated. Then Crusade didn't get any updates. And then you get the Codex FAQs and erratas. Yes, because not only does the core rules need an update, every single Codex needs an update too. And yes, you'll notice all of these have been done. So let's start with Orks and let's get into it. Now, I do like how they do these documents. You see the green highlighting here. These are things that changed last time, and the things in red are things that are changed this time. In fact, I tell you this right here. New or revised text is in red, and text highlighted is applied to revisions made previously. Now, there are a couple of big ones. Gaz and the WAAAAAAAAAGH banner kind of works a little better now, but the biggest thing is the War Boss's ability. Now look, old Big Mek has been very, very clear that he is not an uber competitive player, but I do know how to read rules. In fact, when 10th edition dropped, old Big Mek was the brain boy that figured out that Gaz could ride in a truck because they screwed up how keywords worked, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. We had the whole fortress thing where you could make an impassable wall using the unit that was the Mech Boy workshop, and just other really janky, crappy things, like Mega Knobs not having Mega Armor as a keyword, and just thus being like literally useless rules as written. And the point of those videos and the point of those discussions wasn't to like be a grognard and try to get one over on the rules. It was going, hey, look, you want us to play the rules as you write them, as you have written them, no interpretation. They are broken. So either you want us to interpret them incorrectly in order to play, or you need to go and fix your rules. And Games Workshop has been very slow in fixing those rules. 10th edition came out summer of last year. We're into fall of this year, you know, over a year, almost to a year and a half now. And they finally figured out that when you call a WAAAAAAAAGH, the war boss should get the 4 attacks when he's in the truck. Previously, I mean, as written, it was always intended to be that way, but because of the way they wrote it, it was really badly timed, and they have FAQ'd it literally every single update, and they went the wrong way. They made it wrong. They went, okay, no, if your war boss is in a truck, he doesn't get the WAAAAAAAAGH ability because he's not on the table when the WAAAAAAAAGH is called. How stupid is that? He's the war boss. He's the one calling the WAAAAAAAAGH. It's not like this is an overpowered thing either. I mean, this is like the most basic of additional thing that your leader can do. So anyways, it's finally fixed. While the WAAAAAAAAGH is active for your army, add 4 to the attack characteristics of this model's melee weapons. Finally, the regular war boss works. Now, one thing I do like is that they added that while the WAAAAAAAGH is active wording to all of the abilities so that there's no more questions about the timing on this. You call a WAAAAAAAAGH, and these abilities all work no matter where your units are at the start of your phase, or this, that, or the other thing. So they did it for Gazgul, they did it for the War Boss and Mega Armor, they did it for Zodgrod Wartsnagat, they did it for the Mega Knobs, the Morkanaut, and the Gorkanaut, which is great. It's about darn time. And furthermore, further down in the FAQ, they have a question that says, when using the Bully Boys attachment, which is the one with all the War Bosses and Knobs, it says, do the War Boss Knobs and Mega Knob abilities that check if the WAAAAAAAGH is active for your army work during second WAAAAAAAAGH? Because remember, the whole point is that a war boss can call a second WAAAAAAAGH, and in Bully Boys you can do it with a whole bunch of things. And it says yes, for the purposes of those abilities, the WAAAAAAAGH is treated as being active for your army. So second WAAAAAAAGH is exactly as good as first WAAAAAAAGH. Finally. Now, jumping over to the Ork Legends units, they don't have the red thing going on, so I'm not sure what changed. From what I can tell, it's still the same units. You've got Knobs on war bikes, War Boss on war bike, Big Track, the Mega Dread, different, right? Mega with a G, Mecha with a K, which were both Forge World units. The Kill Tank, Squiggoth, not the gargantuan Squiggoth, that one's still good, the baby Squiggoth. The Grot Mega Tank, the Grot Tanks, the little mini ones, like the little pullback ones that we did. That's probably our fault. Captain Badrock, may he rest in peace. Big Mek with custom force field. The Mech Boy workshop. Again, probably my fault. Knob with WAAAAAAAAAGH banner. That one really bugs me. Knob with WAAAAAAAAAGH banner shouldn't have been in there, but you know. Mad Dot Grotsnick. Boss Agstruck. Again, may he rest in peace. Big Mek on war bike. The Grot Bomb Launcher. Lift-A-Wagon. Attack Fighter. Fight-A-Bomber. Chinork Warcopter. Def Roller Battle Fortress, Kill Crusher, Def Copters with big shooters, big guns, war buggies, Scorches, War Tracks, Painboy on war bike. That's a weird one. Red Gobbo. Surprisingly enough, Not on Bouncer. The Red Gobbo on Bouncer, like, got squished into the Red Gobbo and then disappeared. So there's been 2 Red Gobbo models on foot that are now both represented by this one datasheet. And the Red Gobbo on Bouncer now doesn't exist. And then there's the Grotmus kits, which are for Age of Sigmar. But yeah, it's interesting that poor Bouncer no longer exists. Anyways, and Cannon Wagon. Those are all the Legends units. I'm pretty sure those were all the Legends units before. So somebody that's got an old set of the Legends units cards like downloaded, go download the new ones and really look at them all and let us know down in the comments what the heck changed, because normally Legends units don't get updated. All right, moving on to the general rules now. You've got the actual core rules updates and rules commentary. That document that I was showing you is actually bigger than the core rules. Again, there's a bunch that's green, there's a bunch that's red that's changed, but it looks like to me that all the reds are in the actual FAQs, just the questions at the end. So yeah, there's some things about timing and sequencing, a couple of rules exceptions, again, more things about positioning and movement, and I think that's about it. It was actually fairly light when it comes to FAQ redos. But yeah, it's a really, really big document. I mean, you're looking at, gosh, what is it here? 35 additional pages. 35 additional pages to clarify the original rules. And then you get the Pariah Nexus Mission Pack FAQ and update. Okay, rant box time. Games Workshop, you are not Magic the Gathering. You don't need to have seasons. You don't need to have rotations of things in and out. It's already bad enough with additions and codexes. Doing it with mission packs too is stupid. Do you have a squig for a brain? Seriously. All right, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, again, if you're not like a competitive player, this is probably like all over your head. It's fine. When 10th edition dropped with the Leviathan box set back in July of last year, it came with the Leviathan mission pack. It's a set of cards that gave you missions. You had your primary missions, your secondary missions, your secret objectives, whatever the heck. But it's how you actually played the game instead of just setting up and trying to kill each other, right? It gives you your objectives, you know, where they go on the board, how the board sets up, all that stuff. GW, in their infinite wisdom, decided that that wasn't good enough and came out with a whole new mission pack called Pariah Nexus. Most of the missions are the Leviathan ones rehashed, or like literally identical. So you're not actually really getting anything new. It's not like Boarding Patrol, which was actually new and different and unique and cool. It was just the same missions in a new package to make you buy the cards again. Except for the cards were literally obsolete the day you got them because they screwed up the cards and how they worked. So they have done more updates to this stupid mission pack than they've done to 10th edition, and that's a high bar. Why anybody would pay the money for these mission packs and actually want to play these competitive missions is completely beyond me. But here we are. So there's been updates to them. The big thing is they have once again changed all of the measurements for the terrain layouts. And I think the problem is they haven't quite realized that more armies than Space Marines exist, and those armies have models that are 10, 20, maybe even 30 years old, if you play Eldar, or Orks, and the base sizes don't fit, and the models don't fit in these spaces. And so they have to keep spreading these runes out to make the missions work with all the armies, which is why having standardized runes is such a stupid idea to begin with. Let's go on the way, way back machine. Way, way back. In 3rd edition Warhammer 40k, when you set up a mission to play with a buddy, how it worked is one person would set the terrain on the table. The other person gets to pick where they deploy. That made it really fair because you couldn't screw with what it was going to look like because you knew that if you made it lopsided to one side, your opponent was going to take it. It was super, super simple. And so it was really easy to make a board that was just fair from every direction because you didn't know where you were going to get. And it just worked. And this whole idea of the only thing you could play with are runes and these stupid little corner L runes, when you make all of this amazing terrain, again, just beyond me. And once again, there are updates for the actual FAQs in the mission deck, and then the actual cards have more updates yet again. and I feel so bad. There are people out there that like literally print and laminate these cards every single time they do an update so that they have the most correct one in front of them and they don't have to get out their phone or their tablet or something like that to pull up the stupid PDF and look for the one mission card that's changed in their deck. They could actually put it in the deck and have it work. They got to print them all over again every time when they add more ones in here. They're up to what, seven different mission cards are now completely errated from the original deck. It's just, All right, and we'll get to the last thing we're going to talk about because it was the last thing that was updated, and the most important, probably to you in this video, which is the Munitorium Field Manual, and this is where Orks really did get Squigmas. Poor Orks have been down at the very, very, very bottom of the official meta for months. The only big major victory we had, which was the Tacoma Open, was a big cheater who was Dirty Death Skull and got, you know, basically lambasted online until he vacated his win, meaning Orks really haven't won anything and they haven't really placed very well, and so our win-loss ratio has been absolutely in the gutters. So, the Munitorium Field Manual updated points, and the red ones might go faster, but green is best. Look, not one single red entry. Red is higher points. Green is lower points. All of our points that got adjusted went down. B-Snag is down to 95 points a squad for a 10 model squad. Big Mek down to 70 points. Big Mek and Mega Armor down to 90. Big Mek with Shock Attack Gun down to 65. Boys down to 80 points. Let's go. Def Dread 120 points. Def Cop does 90 points. Gorkanaut dropped to 265. That's very welcome. Man, Hunter Rig and Kill Rig 135 and 155. That is stupid cheap. That is so crazy. These are going to become must-take models very soon. Commandos down to 120. Mega Knobs down to 70 for 2, 105 for 3. Morkanaut down to 280, and Tank Bustas down to 90. And while overall this was a fantastic Squigmas present for us Ork players, our points dropped by a significant enough margin that you can actually do something with it. It totally screws up all of our lists and all of my videos, right? I literally just did a video on how to make 1,000 points of Orks, and now it's like 945. You can get a whole extra squad in there. We all basically said, just grab another unit of Grots. It's the easiest thing to do to get that 45 points back, and Grots are so worth it, and you know, you can keep using them as you know, your army grows. You can never just not have Grots. It's great. But yeah, you have options now. Instead of taking the Grots, again, you know, the other army was 995 points. Now it's dropped down to God, what was it? 9. Yeah, they said they had 45 more points, so they dropped down to 950. So now you got 50 points to play with. If you didn't want to bring another unit of Grots, I don't think any of our other units are down to 50 yet, though. Ludas, you can take another unit of Ludas, or you could double up your Ludas to be 2 squads big for 100 points. Could be an option. But yeah, it's really, really nice for Ork players that we can now bring more models, because that's what we need to do to be able to survive this game and actually be competitive versus not. So yes, very, very, very welcome to have the points changes. Okay, back on my soapbox though. The one thing that needed to change for Orks, the absolute biggest thing, still hasn't changed, and that's the timing of when you call the WAAAAAAAAAGH. Now, I've talked about this a little bit, but again, not a big tactics guy. You should go watch the channel WAAAAAAAAAGH Tactics to really get great insight in all this stuff. I've shouted them out before. I'll try to throw a link down in the comments if I remember. But anyways, when you call the WAAAAAAAAAGH as an Ork player, you have to call it at the beginning of the battle round. That is both players' turn, not just your turn. So if you go first, that's excellent. If you go second, which is usually preferred for all the missions, that's terrible. You have to call the WAAAAAAAAGH at the beginning of your opponent's turn, so they spend their entire turn knowing that you have these benefits coming for close combat and are able to turtle up, so to say, with the feel no pains on your defense. And so they can totally play to exact perfection and leave you out to dry, where you have literally no you know, charges in range when your turn comes because you're going second. There's absolutely no reason why the WAAAAAAAAGH couldn't be called at the beginning of your turn and then persist for 2 player turns. None whatsoever. It totally makes way more sense, even to an orc. Come on, Games Workshop. But yeah, I guess if you're going to be a competitive player, these are the things you've got to live with. So that has been my update on Squigmas in Orktober. I hope you liked going through everything. I don't often do these kind of videos, just not being a very competitive player, but it is nice when orcs actually get some good news. I'm still really curious on what changed in Legends. Like, yeah, I'm too busy making Orktober videos, but if one of you mechs, one of you war bosses out there has got some time, sit down and look at the old ones if you've got them, and sit down and look at the new ones, and let us all know what's changed, and if it was anything good. All right. I got to get back to working more Orktober videos. This one was a nice, pleasant surprise. I got some painting to do on my Beast Snagga boys, so I will see you tomorrow. And until then, why on?